All right. I don't want to make a video right now. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I just got off the phone and I just don't want to do this. But at the end of the day, you don't have a choice whether or not you want to go to your part time job, whether you like it or not. I have to make a 10-minute video today just so that the algorithm doesn't start duking on me like that airplane AI video we saw earlier this week that shows a certain someone letting the proletariat know how he feels about them. So today was a crushing day of mindlessness, repetitiveness, and the fact that you just feel like you can't win. And from the moment I woke up this morning, I didn't want to get out of bed, and which is a conversation I had with several other people at McDonald's today. It's getting harder and harder to motivate yourself to get out of bed in the morning. And then I asked him this question: are you going to get hungry later? And he said, yes, of course, MillennialSteam. And he also added this little tidbit: I'll remember this day on payday when I've lost 20% of my paycheck because I didn't want to go to Pound Town. I wanted to have a little peace and quiet. I wanted to enjoy myself. But no, we're out there busting our hump like 10 people for one paycheck. And you ask yourself, is this sustainable? The answer is no. But the alternative is to become a homeless person. And on my drive home today, I must have seen 25 different homeless people all out there, all looking for something to eat, whether they're digging in a trash can or the most common thing I saw today is homeless people just talking to themselves on the street, right? No one else listens to you, so what do? You just start talking to your invisible friends because they're the only ones that are still paying attention to you, the ones inside of your melon. And it gets really difficult to make these videos without a script, without any kind of script, because then I just have to bounce around from my day's activities. And it's hard to describe them in a way in which you guys would want to listen about the day in the life of a middle aged guy who's been doing the same thing his whole life. And his whole life has been spent in the pursuit of trying not to be murked by just merely existing, because life has gotten to the point where just pure existence, you're not alive anymore. You're a ghost of your former self. In fact, I was asking one of the newer McDonald's workers what it feels like to now have to live like an adult. And he said, I don't like this feeling. I don't like that sensation of going to a place where it doesn't matter how much work you do. Every day there's a reset at McDonald's. Every morning you have to come in and make the coffee, cook the french fries, deal with angry customers and unrealistic expectations. And every single McDonald's worker I work with is experiencing this in real time. Yesterday I had to get onto a machine because they murked someone and they still needed their soul. So you have to go into the corpse and pull out the guts. You got to pull out what's relevant. You got to start going through their entrails, looking for what their boss wants. And it's a messy business going through there because you don't want to do it, but they don't give you an option. It's like an autopsy on the remains of what that person used to do there. And digging around like that is never any fun. I mean, sometimes your name will pop up on my screen and I'll be like, oh my God, no. But you don't have a choice. You have to put your head down and acknowledge the fact that there are going to be casualties of this job economy everywhere. And it's beginning to show. Yesterday, I was watching The Epic Economist, and he was talking about people who are over 50 that are being systematically targeted just because they have too much experience. And what does experience mean on a resume? It means they have to pay you more. But corporate America doesn't believe in paying more. There was a story about a guy, again, yesterday on The Epic Economist, that he was less than a year from his pension, 30-year pension at a company he's worked at his entire life. They let him go and replaced him with four interns, basically entry level workers. Then they diced up his job. And this isn't unheard of. One of my friends that I guess it's been a year that her husband, it actually has been a full year. Courtney's husband was in sales for 20 plus years. One day he comes home from work and he has to tell his wife that they let him go without notice. And there's certain, and again, the Epic Economist talks about this. When they do this to you, they have to read a script so that there's no liability. And that's exactly what they did to him. They told him they were glad for his service. He was an exempt, exceptionally employee. He was doing a good job, and he wasn't being uh, reduced in workforce because of anything he did. It was simply put that they were going in a different direction. They wanted a different energy. They wanted synergy, whatever the heck that means. It's a word that I directly remember being used when I got laid off in 2008. It's like we need more synergy, and people who don't have that pizzazz, you're either going to grow with us or you're not. And that's really what it comes down to. Since I got back from that gig that I had to go to a couple of weeks ago, a lot of those people aren't here anymore. You look around and you think to yourself, wasn't there more people here last week? At McDonald's, wasn't there like Fred over there in the corner picking his nose and Susie over there popping a pimple on her, God only knows what? You you look around and you see the environment changing in real time. And this doesn't just happen at McDonald's. Like I mentioned, Insight was one of the worst places I've ever worked at in my entire life. The way that when they hire you in a gang, right? It's not an individual interview. You're in there with like six other guys. You know why that is? Because they know that out of the six guys, maybe all of them will be gone next week or the day of. That's why they have to hire like that. They don't hire the brightest and best. They don't hire brilliant people. They hire people with desperation. Desperation hiring is the number one way to get what you want at the price point you want. So let's say Susie over there has two master's degrees, a certification, and let's say 3 to 5 years of experience. She's going to be minimum wage, 16 bucks an hour. In fact, this is what I was thinking about today. As I was driving home, I was going through an area called the Lakes. When I was in the fourth grade, I had a childhood acquaintance. I wouldn't call him a friend, more like a frenemy. But his mother was a school teacher, and he could afford to live at the Lakes with his mother, being a single mom. Now, in today's world, being a single mom, being a school teacher means you're making the minimum wage. There's no way that school teacher in present day America could ever afford to live in that neighborhood. But not only did she live in that neighborhood, but every summer, since school teachers don't work during the summer, at least back then they didn't. Every year when the school year ended in May, I wouldn't see him again until the school year started again at the beginning of September because his mother had a second house up on the Mogollon Rim. Why? I don't know how she could possibly do it on a teacher's salary. I have a lot of experience in a lot of different things, and I have a horrendous amount of interest. And yet here I am, one of the poorest educated people I have ever met. And that's something I get from nearly everyone I meet. It's like, MillennialSteam, how can you be this poor and have so much education? I'm like, it's not my fault. I chose the wrong direction to take my life in. And there are literally tens of millions of people out there right now who wonder, how did this happen to me? How am I living not only paycheck to paycheck, but you're not making it to your paycheck? Most of us are running out of money before we get to our next paycheck. It is all too common. That credit card debt that's out there that is never going to be paid back by people who aren't making it to their second paychecks, I'm willing to bet that almost 100% of those people with those run-up credit cards didn't buy anything fancy. They weren't buying nice clothes. They weren't buying shoes. They were buying groceries, paying for gas. wondering whether or not the lights were going to go out. It is not a good time to be alive in America unless you're filthy rich, because we're not making it anymore. You're not making it. And people like me who keep saying, who keep making these videos, are pointing out a simple fact. It's not going to get any better unless people really do try. Today, while I was watching Anonymous, they talked about a story that happened, I guess, in the past week that I didn't hear about in the mainstream media. But people resisting, people saying, you know what? I don't want to live like this. I work too hard to have to skip meals, turn off my lights, not run my air conditioning, wonder if my car is going to get repossessed tomorrow. I work too hard to have that much financial fear. The lack of stability is a mental health crisis in America that I've been talking about for years. If you don't have enough money, you're going to start getting crazy and crazy, crazier and crazier, because it's all you think about. It's what you dream about. It's what you think about in the morning. It's the last thing you think about before you go to bed. And with that said, I am going to stick this video up there. I hope Fleece is gentle with you in the morning, but I got to get out of here. I have other things to do right now other than this, just like you do. Go, go back to your gas station job, and remember, you better be up at 8 a.m. and be on time, because Pound Town is waiting for you, and he's all ready. He's standing there, and you know what he wants, because it's never the easy way when it comes to the proletariat.